from the luxurious mansions of Sinaloa to a 283-meter cell. Thus collapsed the empire of Ovidio Guzmán, Chapo's heir, from the pinnacle of drug trafficking to the abyss of total confinement. In this concrete and steel hell, every second is agony for the mouse. Watched relentlessly, deprived of even the most basic privacy, Ovid faces a crushing reality as he struggles to maintain his sanity and his vast fentanyl empire crumbles. In the dusty streets of Culiacan, Sinaloa. On March 29, 1990, Ovidio Guzmán López came into the world, son of the infamous Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán. From his first breath, Ovidio's destiny was intertwined with drug trafficking. Young Ovidio grew up in a world of extreme contrasts. On the one hand, he enjoyed unimaginable luxuries, mansions, luxury cars, and education in the most exclusive schools. But on the other, he lived under constant threat from rivals and authorities. His childhood was a mixture of gold and lead, where toys alternated with armed bodyguards. As Ovidio grew, his father's empire expanded. The Sinaloa Cartel became one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world. But as we know, all power has a price that sooner or later will come, and for El Chapo, it was no exception. The bill came on January 19, 2017, when he was captured and extradited to the United States, leaving a power vacuum that his sons, including Ovidio, were quick to fill. At just 24 years old, Ovidio took his first steps in the family business. He was a quick learner, earning the respect of cartel members with his cunning and determination. Ovidio's rise to power was not without obstacles. Infighting and rivalries threatened his position. However, he proved himself a capable leader, consolidating his control over the cartel. But his reign would be marked by an event that would shake Mexico, the Culiacanazo. On October 17, 2019, Mexican security forces attempted to capture Ovidio in Culiacan. What followed was unprecedented chaos. The cartel responded with overwhelming violence, paralyzing the city and forcing the government to release Ovidio. This event demonstrated the cartel's power, but also put Ovidio in the global spotlight. After the Culiacanazo, Ovidio became one of the most wanted criminals. He expanded the fentanyl empire, contributing to the opioid crisis in the US. He lived a life of extreme luxury, but always looking over his shoulder. The authorities were on his trail, and he knew it more than anyone. It was only a matter of time until they found him. The big day came on January 5th of last year. In a surprise operation, Ovidio was finally captured in Culiacan. The cartel responded with violence, but this time, the authorities did not give in. Ovidio was transferred to a maximum security prison, awaiting extradition to the United States. Ovidio's journey to concrete hell was a dramatic descent from the heights of power. During his extradition to the United States, the plane carrying Ovidio Guzmán landed in Chicago, and as he was escorted through the city streets, a peculiar building rose before his eyes. The Chicago Metropolitan Correctional Center, his new home. Designed by architect Harry Weese in 1971, this 28-story skyscraper rises in the heart of Chicago. Its unique triangular shape has earned it the nickname Iron Triangle, a structure that defies conventional prison architecture. But this shape is not an aesthetic whim, it is a meticulously planned security feature. The purpose of this building is clear: to house the most dangerous criminals and inmates awaiting trial. Although it was originally designed for 400 inmates, it currently houses 486, exceeding its initial capacity. Ovidio Guzmán, accustomed to large, luxurious spaces, would now be one more in this overcrowded prison skyscraper. The security features of the Iron Triangle are as impressive as its exterior design. The windows, only 13 centimeters wide and 2.3 meters high, are virtually impossible for a human being to pass through. In addition, they are irregularly distributed on the facade, a strategy to hinder any escape plan that might be conceived from the inside. The building's triangular shape is not only striking, but functionally crucial. It allows guards to maintain full visibility of inmates at all times, eliminating blind spots and increasing surveillance efficiency. On the rooftop, where a basketball court is located, a 10-meter-high perimeter wall rises. As if this were not enough, a wire fence covers the top, an additional measure to prevent any escape attempt by helicopter. Ovidio, who once had access to all kinds of vehicles for his operations, now saw the sky through a wire netting. Surveillance inside is equally intense. Guards watch the inmates constantly, even during meals and bathroom visits. For Ovidio, accustomed to giving orders and moving freely, this constant supervision was undoubtedly a drastic change in his daily reality. Finally, Ovidio was taken to his cell, probably located on the 11th floor, an area set aside for high-profile prisoners. Gone were the luxuries of his mansions in Mexico. His new home was an austere, uncarpeted room with reinforced security doors. The furnishings were reduced to the basics, a bed and a desk. The only connection to the outside world was a floor-to-ceiling window that offered a view of the city of Chicago. However, this view, while impressive, was severely restricted by security measures. For Ovidio, this window would become a constant reminder of the freedom he had lost. As Ovidio settled into his cell, he couldn't help but notice the contrast with the rumors he had heard about the early days of Chicago's Metropolitan Correctional Center. In its early days, the prison had been known for offering unusual amenities for a detention center. Carpeted floors, comfortable cells, and good food were part of a distant past. Ovid now faced an austere and restrictive reality. However, some vestiges of that more indulgent past remained, such as the library located on the 9th floor, which still functioned and offered inmates a window to the outside world through books. Since the opening of the Iron Triangle, there has been at least one notable case of escape. In 2012, two inmates, Kenneth Conley and Joseph Banks, managed to escape using tied sheets. Although they were recaptured days later, their feat demonstrated that even the most secure prison could have vulnerabilities. This incident led to a drastic increase in security measures, making inmates' lives even more restrictive. Ovidio was not the first famous name to pass through these cells. Rapper R. Kelly, mob leader James Marcello, and even Matthew Nolan, brother of famed director Christopher Nolan, had been guests of the Iron Triangle. Each had left his mark on the prison's history, adapting in his own way to life behind bars. The daily routine in prison is a constant reminder of Ovidio's new reality. As a high-profile inmate, he is kept separate from the general population, further limiting his interactions. His access to recreational facilities, such as the basketball and volleyball courts on the rooftop, are strictly controlled and limited. Meals, once praised for their quality, are now basic and functional. Visits, a lifeline for many inmates, are highly restricted and monitored, reminding Ovidio that every aspect of his life is now under constant surveillance. The admission process was a culture shock for Ovidio. The security classification and the assignment of his cell marked the beginning of a new life, defined by restrictions and loss of autonomy. Initial interactions, limited primarily to the guards, underscored the loneliness of his new existence. For a man who once controlled a multinational criminal empire, the psychological adjustment to this loss of freedom and privilege was perhaps the greatest challenge. Every day is a struggle against monotony and isolation. As the days turned into weeks and months, Ovidio Guzmán's life at Chicago's Metropolitan Correctional Center took on a strict, monotonous routine. The once powerful drug trafficker now finds himself subject to an inflexible 24-hour schedule dictated by prison rules. Ovid's day starts early, at 6 a.m., with the metallic sound of the security doors opening. Gone are the days of waking up to silk sheets and gourmet breakfasts. Now, a quick shower and a basic breakfast mark the start of his day. From 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., Ovidio has limited access to the 9th floor library. Here, surrounded by books, he tries to keep his mind active and away from the memories of his former life. Lunch, served at 12 p.m., is a solitary experience. As a high-profile inmate, Ovid eats separately from the general population, under the watchful eye of the guards. The food, a shadow of the banquets he was accustomed to, is functional and unappetizing. From 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., weather permitting, Ovidio has access to the rooftop basketball court. Surrounded by high walls and barbed wire fences, this outdoor space is a bittersweet reminder of freedom lost. At 6 p.m., followed by a period of free time in the cell, until curfew at 10 p.m. During these hours, Ovidio struggles with isolation and the temptation to sink into despair. Adapting to this new reality was a monumental challenge for Ovidio. Accustomed to controlling every aspect of his life and that of many others, he now found himself at the mercy of an unforgiving system. To survive, he had to develop new strategies. Reading became his main escape. He now devours library books, from novels to history and philosophy texts, seeking to keep his mind sharp and busy. She also began practicing meditation, a skill she had never considered necessary in her previous life. Maintaining sanity in this restrictive environment is undoubtedly a daily struggle. Ovid now clings only to the memories of his family, especially his children, as an emotional anchor. But these same memories often haunt him, reminding him of all that he had lost. Interestingly, despite the extreme security measures, persistent rumors suggest that Ovidio still maintains some level of communication with the outside world. The rules for family and attorney visits are extremely strict. Each meeting takes place in a guarded room, with guards watching every gesture and word. Visitors are subjected to exhaustive security checks, seeking to avoid any attempt to pass information or contraband. For Ovidio, accustomed to secret meetings and covert communications, this forced transparency is additional torture. Restrictions on communication go beyond physical visits. Phone calls are monitored and limited. Incoming and outgoing mail is thoroughly inspected. Every word written or spoken by Ovidio is analyzed for hidden codes or messages. The man who once controlled a clandestine communications empire now struggles to maintain even the most basic contact with the outside world. Despite these restrictions, rumors persist about Ovidio's attempts to maintain control of the cartel from prison. Are these rumors founded or simply speculation based on his infamous last name? Authorities remain on high alert, aware of the cunning that characterizes the Guzmán family. Meanwhile, El Chapo's shadow looms over Ovidio's situation. From his own cell in ADX Florence prison, Joaquin Guzmán has reacted with a mixture of anger and concern to his son's incarceration. Attempts at communication between father and son are the subject of intense surveillance by authorities at both prisons. El Chapo's continued influence in the drug trafficking world, even from his confinement, is a subject of constant speculation. Can the Guzmán patriarch still pull the cartel's strings? One day, during a visit from his lawyer, Ovidio received news that shook his world. A coded message, cleverly passed through the rigorous security checks, revealed that the Sinaloa Cartel had suffered major setbacks. Key territories had been lost, alliances had been broken. The empire it once controlled was crumbling. This revelation put Ovidio at a crossroads. Should he try to reassume control, risking new charges and a harsher sentence? Or should he accept that his time as cartel leader was over? The answer came in an unexpected way. During a monitored phone call with his mother, Ovidio used a pre-arranged code to convey a clear message. The mouse has left the labyrinth. For those who understood the true meaning, it was a sign that Ovidio Guzmán was giving up his role in the cartel. This decision had immediate repercussions both inside and outside the prison. The guards noticed a change in Ovidio's demeanor. He seemed more relaxed, more resigned to his situation. Meanwhile, on the streets of Sinaloa, a power struggle was raging to fill the vacuum left by the Guzmáns. The true extent of Ovidio's influence from prison turned out to be far less than many had speculated. His decision to walk away from the drug trafficking world not only marked the end of an era for the Sinaloa Cartel, but also the beginning of a new phase in Ovidio Guzmán's life. Despite his apparent renunciation of the drug trafficking world, Ovidio Guzmán's instinct for survival and freedom was not completely extinguished. Deep in the depths of the Iron Triangle, an audacious plan began to take shape. The escape plan was ingenious and reminiscent of his father's legendary escape. Ovid had managed, through a carefully cultivated network of contacts, to establish communication with accomplices both inside and outside the prison. The plan involved a combination of cutting-edge technology and old-fashioned diversionary tactics. The details of the plan were meticulous. A miniature, nearly invisible drone would be used to deliver tools and detailed maps of the prison's ventilation system. Meanwhile, a corrupt guard, lured by an astronomical sum of money, agreed to look the other way at crucial moments. The execution of the plan was set in motion during a stormy night. The storm would serve as perfect camouflage for the drone's drone buzz and any noise generated by the exhaust. Ovidio, using the tools provided, began working on the bars of his window. However, fate had other plans. Just as Ovidio was about to create an opening large enough to escape, a guard on an unscheduled patrol noticed something unusual. The alarm sounded, and within minutes, the iron triangle became a hive of activity. The plan had failed spectacularly. Ovidio was quickly subdued and isolated. The subsequent investigation revealed the extent of the conspiracy, leading to the arrest of the corrupt guard and several outside accomplices. The repercussions were immediate and severe. Security measures, already draconian, were further intensified. Additional motion sensors were installed, the frequency of guard rounds was increased, and an AI surveillance system was implemented to analyze suspicious behavior patterns. For Ovidio, the consequences were devastating. He was subjected to an even stricter regime of isolation. His already limited privileges were virtually eliminated. Family visits were reduced to a minimum, and his access to the library and recreational areas was severely restricted. The impact on Ovidio's morale was profound. The failure of the escape plan had not only closed off any possibility of physical escape, but also seemed to have sealed his fate within the prison system. The next few days were a whirlwind of interrogations and psychological evaluations. The investigators were determined to uncover every detail of the plan and ensure that no vulnerability remained in the system. In the midst of this chaos, Ovidio had a moment of clarity. He recalled the story of the 2012 escape, when two inmates had used bedsheets to escape. Although they had been recaptured, their exploit had led to significant improvements in security. Now, ironically, Ovidio's escape attempt had had a similar effect. This thought provoked further reflection in Ovid. Had he been so focused on escape that he had lost sight of other forms of freedom? Was there a possibility of finding purpose even within the confines of the Iron Triangle? As Ovidio contemplated these questions, the outside world continued to spin. The Sinaloa Cartel continued to operate, adjusting to the Guzman's absence. The authorities, now more vigilant than ever, were watching closely for any sign of suspicious activity. Ovidio Guzmán's story in the Iron Triangle had taken another dramatic turn. The failure of his escape attempt had not only changed the conditions of his imprisonment, but also seemed to be changing something fundamental within him. The Iron Triangle, which once seemed to be only a temporary stop on his path, was now shaping up to be the scene of the most important legal battle of his life. Preparations for the trial began with feverish intensity. Ovidio's legal team, composed of some of the most astute and well-paid lawyers in the country, met frequently with him in the heavily guarded visiting room. Each meeting was a reminder of the restrictions that now defined his life, with guards watching every gesture and listening to every word. The defense strategy focused on challenging the legality of his extradition and questioning the validity of the evidence obtained in Mexico. The lawyers argued that much of the evidence had been obtained illegally and that Ovidio's rights had been repeatedly violated during his capture and transfer to the United States. Meanwhile, the prosecution was preparing a seemingly irrefutable case. They had testimony from former cartel members, detailed financial records, and evidence of Ovidio's direct involvement in trafficking fentanyl, the drug that has devastated entire communities in the United States. In the midst of this legal battle, the possibility of a plea bargain emerged. Prosecutors, eager to obtain information about the Sinaloa Cartel's operations, offered Ovidio a significant reduction in his sentence in exchange for his cooperation. This offer posed a moral and strategic dilemma for Chapo's son. Ovid struggled internally. On the one hand, the prospect of a reduced sentence was tantalizing. It could mean the difference between spending the rest of his life in prison or having the possibility of freedom in the distant future. Moreover, after his failed escape attempt, he knew his options were limited. On the other hand, cooperating would mean betraying not only the cartel, but also his father's legacy and the principles he had grown up with. The code of silence, la omerta, of the drug trafficking world was deeply ingrained in him. Breaking it would not only endanger his family and associates, but also destroy his identity and everything he had stood for. External and internal pressures were intensifying. From the outside, his family urged him to keep quiet, reminding him of the consequences others had faced for cooperating with the authorities. Internally, Ovid struggled with the weight of his past actions and the possibility of a different future. Every decision had far-reaching consequences. Cooperating might provide legal relief, but it would make him an outcast in the world he once dominated. Resisting would maintain his honor in the criminal underworld, but would almost guarantee a lifetime behind bars. After sleepless nights and days of intense reflection, Ovidio made his decision. In a move that surprised both the prosecution and his own legal team, he opted for a middle path. He decided to plead guilty to some lesser charges, accepting a substantial sentence, but refused to provide information about the cartel's current operations or implicate other members. This decision was a reflection of Ovidio's complex reality. It was not a total surrender, nor was it a stubborn resistance. It was an acknowledgement of his personal guilt, while maintaining a silent loyalty to his family and associates. The reaction to this decision was mixed. The prosecution, while frustrated at not getting all the information it wanted, considered it a partial victory. The drug trafficking world watched with a mixture of respect and caution, uncertain about Ovidio's true motivations. For Ovidio, this decision marked the beginning of a new chapter. As he was led back to his cell in the Iron Triangle, he knew the days ahead would be different. He was no longer the powerful drug trafficker, no longer the prisoner desperate to escape. He was a man facing the consequences of his actions, seeking to redefine his place in a world that had changed drastically. In the months following Ovidio Guzmán's decision, the Sinaloa Cartel underwent a radical transformation. The power vacuum left by the Guzmáns triggered a fierce internal struggle. New leaders emerged, some maintaining old traditions, others adopting more modern and brutal tactics. The ever-evolving world of drug trafficking adapted quickly. New routes, new drugs, and new alliances emerged. Fentanyl, once the Guzmán's specialty, became an even more contested and lethal market. Meanwhile, in his cell in the Iron Triangle, his state of mind oscillates between regret for the lives destroyed by his business and justification of his actions as part of a system larger than himself. Ovidio's future remains uncertain. Will he spend the rest of his days behind bars, or was there the possibility of life after prison? And if he ever gets out, what world will await him? The Guzmán name now carried a different weight. For some, it remains a symbol of defiance and criminal cunning. For others, it represents the inevitable downfall of those who defy the law. Future generations of the Guzmán family will undoubtedly face crucial decisions. Will they continue the family legacy in the world of crime, or will they seek to redefine their identity away from the drug trade? Public perception of the narco myth has also been changing. Television series and narco corridos that once glorified figures like El Chapo are now beginning to show the devastating consequences of his actions. As Ovidio looks out the narrow window of his cell, will he be remembered as the last of a criminal dynasty, or the beginning of the end of a bloody era in the history of drug trafficking? The Guzmán legacy, forged in power and violence, now faces a dead end. And as the sun sets over the Iron Triangle, the world waits to see how the final page of this story will be written.